Welcome. I'm Halcyon, and this is Hug Nation. Today, I want to talk about Desert Hearts versus Burning Man. Okay, truthfully, that's a clickbait kind of title because I don't really want to talk about the opposing events. Desert Hearts, if you're not familiar with it, is a Southern California based gathering musical event. House music, good vibes, awesome people, awesome promoters, awesome community. Love them. I have no criticisms. Burning Man, if you're not familiar with it, I'm curious how you even know to be listening to me because I can't talk about much else. It is a temporary city in the Nevada desert and a network of regional events that follow 10 principles. I believe Desert Hearts has principles or guidelines of their own, but I don't know what they are. But that's relevant to the conversation that will follow. So there was a post in the San Diego Burner Facebook group where someone asked about the presence of Desert Hearts gear and t-shirts and logos that they saw at Burning Man events, specifically Utopia and the San Francisco Decompression. And they were kind of surprised and curious. They're like, well, we do tend to be anti-logo as far as the decommodification principle goes. Is there a reason why Desert Hearts kind of gets a pass? I mean, it is a for-profit event, production company, and the person was posting kind of saying, it feels like that would be frowned upon, and is there a reason why we're giving it a pass? And the conversation that followed in the comments surprised me a little bit. A number of the people that posted were clearly Desert Hearts enthusiasts. If I haven't made it clear already, I do not have any criticisms of Desert Hearts. And this is not really a conversation about Desert Hearts at all. It is simply, this was a situation that allowed for a conversation that I found interesting. I will continue. So a lot of the conversation that came up was defense of Desert Hearts as a awesome community and people feeling pride in wearing their Desert Hearts gear. Some of the comments were criticisms about Burning Man as an event and how big it is and how much money it makes and how much money the executives of Burning Man make, which that's a whole other conversation. But to make six figures and live in San Francisco and run an organization for 30 years, that's not really like successful. You're not a wealthy person in San Francisco with that much money. But that's a side discussion. I ended up kind of chiming in and saying, well, I think we're a little off topic. I think the question is this logo or any logo not acceptable within decommodification? And are there some logos that are more or less gray, some that are black and white? I think pretty much everyone would say wearing a Pepsi or a Budweiser t-shirt is not okay. Someone asked me a few weeks ago, what about, can I wear a t-shirt for, Grateful Dead? It's a band, it's a brand, it's a logo, but it's also how I identify. I was like, it's a good question. I mean, I would steer clear of that. But to me, that is still an advertisement for a brand in the default world. So I would prefer people avoid that because, as the decommodification principle states, in order to preserve the spirit of gifting, our community seeks to create social environments that are unmediated by commercial sponsorships, transactions, or advertising. We stand ready to protect our culture from such exploitation. We resist the substitution of consumption for participatory experience. Now, it lies in there with the advertisement and defending the culture. Because you could definitely make the argument that this t-shirt is a representative of what I am and it's what I love and what I care about. But a t-shirt with a logo on it is often an advertisement. Whether you know it or not, you are promoting a brand. You are promoting a corporation. You may do so willingly and with love and say, I love this brand. I love it. but it is still a promotion of a brand. It's still an advertisement. And if you can say, how dare you say I can't wear this? I love this brand. There are people that love Budweiser. There are people that love Nike. There are people that love all sorts of brands and identify it with it. That's the whole point. That's the danger of marketing and branding, is that it becomes this manipulative system of getting you to identify your identity with a brand. I'm not saying Desert Hearts is doing that, but if we allow the ones we like to bypass the principles, it is a slippery slope and it erodes. Now, in years past, I got in trouble for mentioning, I didn't think it was an advertisement or promotion or anything, but I mentioned the brand of vegan coconut milk ice cream that we use at and we give away at Pink Heart. And I did not connect the dots on this, on how it was wrong, because they gave it to us as a gift. I was like, we should celebrate companies that embrace gifting. But the point was made to me that whether it was intended as a gift or not, it is a promotional tool, even if it's intended as a gift. So if you wear your t-shirt as a demonstration of your love of house music, it is still a promotional tool. And if you allow the promotional tool of something that's awesome, it gets gray if we can allow the promotional tools of things that are more insidious. So anyway, so this conversation is happening, and a number of people start commenting like, why are we talking about this? This is so stupid. Like, this doesn't matter. There's so many more important things. It's just a t-shirt. And that's where it got a little, like, I struggle with that argument. Because I think that there is value in having civil conversations, defining and understanding the edges of principles. I'm not saying just with Burning Man. Anything in your life, if it's something that's important to you and is a framework for the way you make decisions and you live, whether it's your faith, whether it's your company, whether it is the vows to your partner, these things, the details, the little bitty things are important. Because when the edges of it start to erode, everything starts to erode. And if you start saying, well, who cares? Some people did that, so then why do I need to deal with my moop? If people did that, then why do I need to do this? And suddenly it's like, well, and suddenly not so suddenly actually, gradually, the idealistic form that we are trying to attain gets more and more fuzzy, and the power of it just dissolves. And people care less and less, and the attachment and the righteous kind of power that you can feel when you're trying to adhere to something that matters to you goes away. I notice this sometimes or someone mentioned recently that at a decompression where there is the decompressions do not follow the 10 principles, whereas a regional event does. Getting off topic here, but at this decompression event, they were struggling to get volunteers. And I think one of the reasons why maybe people's behavior at a decompression is different than a regional is because we do not follow the 10 principles. We fall into our old patterns. I'm guessing you see more trash at a decompression event than a regional event, because you're buying things from a bar, you're going to vendors, you're doing things where the edges have gotten soft and fuzzy, and so you don't have that hard line. It's the same with anything you do with your life, with discipline. Well, maybe I'll wake up at 8, 8:30, 9, something like that. If you say we wake up at 7:30 and you do 7:30, then you have the effects of someone who is following that program. Especially if you said, hey, if someone is setting up a program and you say, what should I do to get this body? And they say, wake up at 7:30, run 5 miles and do this. And then you go and you go, I'm going to wake up at 8:30, and then I'm going to walk for a mile and a half. I mean, I'm just going to kind of let it. You are not going to get the effects of the intended program. And I think that Burning Man, as designed, is like this program. It is, and we, if we attend and we participate, we follow the program. Or we work to change the program, or, do what we can to steer it in a way that we think works for us. But you can't just go, I don't like the idea of decommodification, or I don't think it's important to follow it to whatever. So therefore, I'm not going to do it in the way that, like, I don't have enough respect for this organization to think that it's important. Well, then you shouldn't go. And I don't think there's anything wrong with having this conversation. There was a lot of people that felt like it was elitist for burners to bring up the idea that a Desert Heart shirt should be worn, or judgmental. And I'm like, I mean, if I went to a Desert Heart event and someone said, hey, the kind of the tradition that we have here is that within 20 feet of the dance floor, we don't talk to each other because we want to, or whatever. If someone said, hey, I'd be like, oh, cool. I don't want to. I mean, clearly you guys have cultivated a vibe to get this thing that's so magical. Now I want to be a part of it, or I don't, but I don't want to sabotage it. I wouldn't go to Wasteland Weekend and wear my pink fur all over the place and say, I just don't like the way you guys have set this up. Because there's this beauty in cultivating a vibe, and the principles make that happen. The same is true in the United States. If you don't care, or it doesn't matter about the principles that the country was founded on, you get an erosion of the ideals, which is where we are right now. At least that's how I feel about it. So does it matter? I think it does. Should I get upset about it? No. Not upset, but I do think it's important to define our edges, to make lines in the sand or dust, and try to be the best that you can according with the principles that matter to you. If they don't matter to you, find your good elsewhere. So I recognize that in this conversation, and I was listening to people get defensive about Desert Heart, so I was like, oh, I bet this is what I sound like to people when I start defending Burning Man. In my mind, I'm not being defensive. I'm just clarifying things and explaining why the principles are important. But I'm sure it sounds like I'm close-minded, tunnel-visioned, elitist, judgmental, burnier than thou guy at times, if not all the time, to some people. And maybe that is, well, I think there's definitely a lesson in there for me to try to make sure that my language and my tone is one of seeking mutual understanding and growth. But I hope that we can, pulling back, recognize that we're all trying to find communities that support one another, and trying to create the principles or ideals or practices that are most effective with the populations of people that are drawn to it. There are all sorts of ways that people act at Comic-Con that I'm not privy to, but if I want to make that vibe stronger, I would want to learn how they do it and be a part of it. Now, I'm not saying be a blind follower, but if I went to the Gathering of the Juggalos, and because someone told me this place changed my life, I would either want to contribute as a Juggalo, whoop whoop, or find another place, find a knitting circle, or find something else. And recognizing that the guidelines or principles or whatever, the framework that each organization has figured out, whether it's the Do Lab and Light in a Bottle, or whether Lucidity, they've got, the principles that guide them. You go because you trust and you want to be a part of the system. one of the comments that just got me fired up was they said, dude, just lighten up, man. It's just a party. I was like, well, respectfully, it's not just a party to me. It's a city, and many of us party a lot there, but it is the principles and what I've learned from them and the interactions that they have fostered that have evolved the way that I live and have taught me so much about finding my purpose and sharing my gifts and spreading whatever good I have into the world in a joyous way. And I believe Burning Man to be a powerful tool for changing people and healing the world. So to me, it's not just a party, it's important and it's worth having this conversation. I had another person in the conversation, a person that this is the person who baited me into this debate, and that we haven't talked for like 10 years. I think it's the last time when I first blocked him on Facebook because he did this to me before. But he was kind of attacking me, like, for why are you spending any energy on this? The world is so messed up. There's so many more important things. And I'm like, well, yeah, but I do think this is worth talking about. This is a group called San Diego Burners. This seems like a valid conversation. And they said, like, why, while you're having this conversation, there are children being sold into, slavery. And I'm like, well, good. Yes, you're exactly right. And yet, if you are having this argument on Facebook with me and kind of picking a fight with me on Facebook, why aren't you saving some children from slavery right now? This seems like, as you're blaming me for not using my time wisely, I can't believe you're using your time wisely. And I believe that life is not meant to figure out what is the lowest common denominator of need in the world and then spend all your energy there. I don't think that is the way of a healthy life. I do think it's good to spend your energy in service as much as you can. I was like, as you're attacking me right now, I spent yesterday at First Saturdays giving food and clothing to the homeless. Now, does that mean, should I spend more of my energy with the homeless? Should is the wrong word. Could I? Yes. Will I? Maybe. In fact, I want to share another story about a homeless thing shortly. But I don't know. It was a hard conversation. I got riled up. I got a little defensive. I felt like I had to defend the fact that I care about Burning Man. But in the end, I think that's what we always got to do. We got to know that what we care about is important, even if other people don't. And if something is important to you, hold the line. And compassionately, with understanding, if there is a receptive ear, have a dialogue and try to figure out common ground. I love you, Desert Hearts. I want you to do more of what you do in the world. And that goes to the organizers, that goes to participants, that goes to everyone. And I want more of the Burning Man vibe in the world. And I want more of the Juggalo vibe. I don't think I know it well enough. But any vibe that is helping people find their truth, open up to their gifts and share them with the world, yay that! And whatever path of rules or principles or fundamental ideas that get you to that place, then hold the line. Stick with it. Stick with the program. The program is sound. So thank you for allowing me a space to rant. I hope it was taken in the right way. I love you. So the homeless thing that happened this weekend, I have this thing on the web called Patreon. And people sometimes will give me money to help me do my work. A way for people who love what I do in the world to help me, to support me. It's like a way to buy me a beer each month or a cup of coffee, or just say, hey, thanks, or throw $1 in my hat. Say, keep doing what you're doing. Because most of the things that I do, I don't make money at. I don't make money doing Hug Nation, 0. I don't make money doing Help the Homeless, 0. I don't make money doing Pink Heart, 0. So I got last month $175 from Patreon. Now, that is awesome, but in the moment that I looked at the number, I wasn't as appreciative as I should have been. I'm so grateful to everyone on Patreon. I'm so grateful. Thank you so much. It is a symbolic and energetic boost. It means so much. But in this moment, I was struggling with my finances, and I was frustrated about this number. I wish it was higher. I wish I had more. And then very quickly, I was like, oh, that sucks. Like, this is awesome. It's no small amount of money. Like I was like, I need to figure out a way to thank my patrons or use this money in a way that is worthy of this gift. And I had this thought, I'm going to give it to the homeless. I was like, no, I'm going to give it to one homeless. So this weekend for First Saturdays, I went to the event with $175 cash in my pocket. I'm like, who am I going to give it to? Can you hear Captain Flint? That's the cat. Who am I going to give this money to? And so I was looking around at our regulars. We have most of the people that show up year after year, month after month are people that I've known for a long time. Not most, maybe half. So I'm trying to figure out who am I going to give it to? Who am I going to give it to? And I was like, oh, and at first I was like, it's going to be hard to pick. It was hard to pick, but I finally decided there's one guy who he is in his 70s. He pushes around a wheelchair and a shopping cart, and he's got all his stuff, and he's often feeding the birds. Sometimes you'll even see him, and he's got a pigeon like on his head. And I know it was kind of like, I'm like, hey, so, I've been asking people, if I could get some money donated, like, is there certain things that you could use or you could need? What would you buy? So if someone had $100 for you, what would you do with it?
Oh, I would probably go to Salvation Army and start looking at used wheelchairs. I did that before. I got a good one for $40 out here. It lasted me a few years. And birdseed, probably. I buy some birdseed.
And he starts talking about his compassion for the birds and why it's important to him. And I had this thought of like, wait, what if I give him $175 and he buys $175 in birdseed? And then I was like, fucking A, dude. If he wants to be a birdseed millionaire for a day, then that's the gift I want to give him. I want to give him this money and let him do whatever he wants with it, and let him just okay. So I said, hey, you know what? Here's $175.
Oh God, guy. Wow. Grandpa, you killed me.
And then he explained, he's like, wow, this is great because I just got my first ticket. 20 years I've been living on the street, and I just got my first ticket because they're trying to clean things up. And clean things up means really harass homeless people. And he goes, I got my first ticket, which means next time they hassle me, I'll be arrested because I have a warrant out for me now because he can't pay the ticket. And he's like, so I'm going to be going to jail soon, and they'll probably throw away a lot of my stuff. But they can't take away my money. They'll have to give that back to me when they let me out.
If I got out of jail, I'll be able to buy a coat and a sleeping bag. Otherwise, I'll be sleeping in cardboard.
I picked the right guy. At the same time, I had one of those powerful recalibrations where you're like, wow, the worst things that I've been dealing with over the last year don't even register. I mean, his baseline daily dealing with safety, harassment, hunger, like his baseline normal is pretty hard. So I was stoked to give him that money. I didn't ask the Patreon supporters if that was okay. I hope, and I kind of have it framed in a way that just, this money will help me do my work in the world. So in this moment, this is how I wanted to do my work in the world. I hope everyone feels good about it. I'd like to continue doing things like it. I talked to a few other people to try to see what they wanted. So I've got a couple wish lists from people. I'm so lucky. I still feel so blessed to have the monthly opportunity to connect with with these neighbors in need, and it's this black and white opportunity to be good. You know, kindness is good. Politics, it can get confusing. There's two sides, but there's one side to being good and being kind to another human being. So, I mean, I guess you could argue that now all these birds will be fed and there will be cars that will get pooped on. You're going to have to deal with it and talk to the birdseed millionaire. So join us anytime on First Saturdays, or find some way on your terms, on your turf, to be of service at least once a month. Man, it's important, I think. It really shakes off the ick that media and culture can start to level on. So thank you to patrons. If you want to become a patron, patreon.com/Halcyon. Thank you. I love you. Thank you so much for watching this video. It would really make a lot of difference if you would hit like. It would help people see more of these videos, which would mean a lot to me. Of course, I do a new one of these. It's uploaded every Tuesday. If you hit subscribe, you'll get them all. Thank you so much. I love you.